Something very troubling is happening in the market right now. Stocks are falling, the banking system is under pressure, and global investors are nervous. Many are asking, what will protect my capital during a crisis and even give it a chance to grow? In this episode, we'll break down what's happening with Ethereum, Bitcoin, and BNB, and whether it's worth holding and accumulating them in your crypto portfolio. We'll also analyze what's going on with the global economy. And of course, we'll take a look at the coins you mentioned in our comments. In the meantime, subscribe to us so you don't miss future episodes. Let's go. Ho-ho. Ethereum, a strategy achieved through blood, sweat, and tears. They've grown a little and are already tickling my nose. Bitcoin is currently showing increased volatility after a recent pullback to a key support level. But the market is trying to hold on. Volumes are decreasing, and this could indicate a lull before a major move. We'll look at which levels are worth tracking and what will indicate either a failure or further growth. So let's take a look. Bitcoin, starting with the Bitfinex exchange, monthly time frame. The candle just recently closed. On the monthly time frame, Bitcoin closed quite well according to candlestick analysis, right? In other words, Bitcoin broke above $104,000. It consolidated above previous highs, and from a technical analysis perspective, based on candlestick patterns, everything points to this being excellent, positive news. We also look at the weekly time frame and see that in principle there was consolidation on the weekly time frame as well. The following week served as a test level, roughly around $104,000. And so far, there hasn't been consolidation below this level. We open the charts and see what our already drawn chart is showing us here. Overall, it will be enough for Bitcoin to stay above the psychological mark, first and foremost, above $100,000. And there is potential for growth in the near future to quickly rise in a short period up to about $153,000 to $154,000. This is within the price range from 1.618 to 2.618 on the Fibonacci scale. And within this range, Bitcoin can easily reach the mark of $154,000. But this scenario could be invalidated if there is a consolidation on the weekly time frame or even on the daily time frame. Yes, with confirmation below $100,000. In that case, most likely there will be a drop and a move toward updating its lows and eventually filling this gap down to approximately $70,000, right? That's the next point of a significant major decline. So it's important to pay attention to the $100,000 level. Anything above that has growth potential up to $154,000. And anything below has the potential to fall to $68,000, roughly $70,000. That's quite a wide range currently observed for Bitcoin. It's important to keep an eye on these. If you want to open short positions, do so from the upper boundary or after it consolidates below $100,000. If you want to go long, then either from the current levels with a stop below $100,000, or if you're going long, then of course only after breaking through $153,000. But right now, a long with a tight stop is definitely more preferable. Yes, there is somewhere to hide it. That's it. For now, I don't really see any short opportunities because the momentum is strong. The monthly time frame closed excellently. The RSI is currently in the overbought zone. But let me remind you that we're in an uptrend now, and this indicator can stay high for a long, long time. That's it. Just like it did, for example, in 2021, right? When the RSI had already gone past 70, almost reaching 80, and that was at a level of only about $20,000, after which it tripled in value, right? That's why you should pay attention to this, and the RSI can behave in exactly this way here. Ethereum is currently holding strong in the market and showing high returns. But its volatility has also increased. Let's break down the key levels and show what might happen to Ethereum in the near future, because investor interest in Ethereum is growing more and more. So Ethereum has now risen quite well from the lower boundary of about 1,400 USDT, doubling in value in a very short time. In just 1 month, Ethereum delivered a 100% return. Ethereum actually has very strong chances and potential for further growth. On the monthly time frame, I see a solid consolidation, a large, strong candle. First of all, there was a huge buyback. Secondly, a strong dynamic candle that didn't close right at the level itself, but basically where it needed to, right? In other words, it closed roughly in the middle of these candles. And for me personally, this is not a sign that it was a close below the level. Let's also look at the weekly time frame, and we can see that there's a higher high and higher low, right? Usually, when there's such a cluster of candles, it indicates that there's a bullish pattern forming, either a flag or a pennant. But here we can see that a nice bullish flag is forming, and Ethereum looks good to the upside. Let's open the chart. The next level is roughly here, and another good one is right here. Basically, there are a lot of short-term levels happening here, right? But the more significant global level is, of course, around the $4,000 mark. But it's looking good here. You can see right here, yes, we had a bullish flag, and here something like a bullish flag or even a pennant is forming. Let's see what the potential upside is if we break out of this pattern. Now let's determine what exactly this is. Well, it looks more like a pennant, a bullish flag, but in principle, it doesn't really matter. This is a pattern that indicates bullish sentiment, it's a bullish pattern, and its potential upside is usually measured by the length of the flagpole according to technical analysis. Ho ho! What can we see here? That Ethereum in the near future, very soon, could make a similar breakout. Yes, literally in 2, 3, or 4 days, it could easily reach $4,000. This scenario can only be invalidated if there is a close at least on the daily, or even better on the weekly time frame, below $2,300. In that case, there is potential for a drop to the area of around $1,900. Everything that I see right now points exactly to growth, right? And this growth could be very rapid, up to the $4,000 mark. In addition to this, we have a level right here, right? And this level is already stronger, more significant, more global. I can't say that these levels are particularly strong, but at the moment, everything points to strong growth. And let's take a look at how many times we've already approached this 4,000 level. And this is on the weekly time frame, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The more times an asset approaches a level, the weaker that level becomes. This could either mean a breakout to the upside or a breakout to the downside. That's it. Right now, everything is pointing towards an upward move. Let's also take a look at Ethereum to Bitcoin and check the monthly time frame as well. We can see that there's a solid level here, right? Let's even mark it here now. Here, basically right here. And we can see that this level was also tested back in 2019. And now, after a long time during which Ethereum to Bitcoin was declining, it's time for it to start recovering. Ethereum to Bitcoin has dropped by 80%. I've said this many times already, and I'll say it again. When I was advocating for shorting, yes, for a decline, saying that Bitcoin had much more growth potential, now I clearly see that Ethereum has much more growth potential than Bitcoin. Bitcoin has given a good growth boost, but in percentage terms, Ethereum should now significantly outperform Bitcoin. But basically, we've tested it. Yes, there could be a pullback, but I don't see any reasons for Ethereum to drop below these levels against Bitcoin. I believe that was the absolute lowest point, a kind of peak low, and we won't see any further declines, at least in this growth cycle. Right now, there's also a void here. Yes, this void could extend all the way down to 0.053 Ethereum to Bitcoin. And that's a growth potential of about 111% more than Bitcoin. That is, Bitcoin will grow and Ethereum will grow even more, approximately twice as much and even a little more. That's it. So those are my thoughts on Ethereum. BNB is behaving steadily despite all the pressure being put on the Binance exchange. We'll also analyze the key levels and show the growth potential in the near future. As for BNB, in my opinion, the picture is also very, very impressive. BNB looks positive in terms of growth. It has had a long accumulation period, I believe that this entire period since 2021, when its price range was around $200 and up to $660, $700, that was all position building by a major player. Here, I also see a cup with a handle pattern, right? Here's the cup, here's the handle, and usually the asset shoots up by the depth of this cup and handle. Let's open up our chart. Let's measure the depth of this cup now and see where Binance Coin could potentially grow to. And roughly, give or take, it reaches the peaks on the Fibonacci grid up to the maximum overbought level. And that's around 2000 USDT. Yes, we could see Binance Coin reach that level in the near future. Since the consolidation and testing of this global level around $600 has already happened, and it's happened many times, there are massive buybacks happening here, and I think Binance Coin will surge very dynamically in the near future. That means growth from the current levels of up to about 200% in the near future. That's a good indicator. Yes, crypto may no longer deliver tens or hundreds of returns percentages like it used to 10,000, 20, 30, 50,000%, especially for such heavyweight assets as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB. But these assets are fundamental, just like gold. I want to warn you, and I'm more than sure that various assets that have no real value, meme coins and other junk coins, will simply disappear from the market. So yes, you can buy them for the sake of speculation, to try to make money on them, to catch those huge multiples. But there's a high chance that they'll just disappear and you'll lose your money. That's why the foundation, at least 50%, should be Bitcoin. Yes, I'll repeat myself. This is a strategy that was achieved through blood and sweat. The best strategy is to consistently accumulate Ethereum, Bitcoin, and BNB. If you have another place where you can store and grow it, the very best strategy available on the market today, and every professional who's been in this market for a long time will tell you this. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and BNB are top assets. Well, then let's move on to our key section. Will cryptocurrencies really allow you to preserve your funds and even grow them in times of inflation, during a major crisis, and in conditions of instability? Let's talk about that. Today, we live in an era of increasingly total control, where banks can easily freeze our funds, impose withdrawal limits, or restrict payments abroad. Yes, we know this all too well, and it never leads to anything good. At the very least, it puts a lot of psychological pressure on people. Currencies are unstable and are being printed by the trillions of dollars. The printing press just keeps churning them out. And this is inflation, which many people might not even notice, especially those who don't pay close attention. And there are a lot of people like that who are financially illiterate and don't understand how money works. So here's a simple logical question. When there's more money, of course, prices go up. And the simple logical question is whether you can buy now what you could buy 10 years ago for $1,000, but have incomes really increased that much in the meantime? Well, probably not very much, especially in regular jobs where people are pressured from all sides. There is such instability in the world, and after 9 years in the cryptocurrency market, we can clearly see and understand where the global economy is heading. It's already clear to many that the global economy is moving into the digital sphere, and this transition actually began a long time ago. But there still hasn't been a full-scale global transition yet. Against this backdrop of great instability, more and more people are increasingly considering decentralized ways to preserve and control their money. Of course, cryptocurrency assets provide this incredibly wonderful opportunity to use your money whenever you want, at any time of your choosing, and in whatever amount you need or desire. And it is precisely cryptocurrency assets, cryptocurrencies, that offer the only opportunity to preserve and grow your capital outside of the banking system. What do cryptocurrencies offer? They are independent of banks or governments. There is no authority that can simply take and block your money. It is complete anonymity and freedom of movement for your money. Limited issuance, for example, like Bitcoin, which prevents it from being printed endlessly like the dollar. And this, of course, leads to significant growth, and that's a good sign. Yes, of course, there is currently high volatility in the cryptocurrency market, and there are many scams, but the market is in its formative early stage. And this is a great time not just to preserve your money, but to multiply it. Just try to listen now, hear me out. It's no longer a secret to anyone that the world is going digital. Got it? Noted. If we look at the numbers we have, the cryptocurrency market today amounts to only about $3.5 trillion. The global economy is mostly concentrated in the stock market and the forex market. These markets together amount to more than $400 trillion. And the total money supply will only continue to grow and increase with the number of people and the amount of money being printed. And all of it is gradually moving over here. Bitcoin ETF and Ethereum ETF have already been approved for quite some time. What is an ETF? I'll try to explain it in simple terms. Of course, you can study this in more detail using open sources on the internet or ask ChatGPT. A Bitcoin ETF is an official authorization for transactions. If previously it was prohibited to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they weren't considered any kind of assets, now major countries such as the United States of America are starting to accumulate their own cryptocurrency assets, Bitcoin and Ethereum at the very least, as strategic reserves, similar to how gold reserves were once established. And this major transition is now available to investment funds. In other words, large funds, yes, even those from Wall Street, the stock market, and the currency market, can now easily and freely transfer funds and purchase these assets thanks to Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs. At some point, and for some it will be a wonderful moment, while for others it will be terrible, there will simply be a massive flow of capital, and this market will become unstoppable. Dynamic growth will begin. It will be like a real gold rush when this global transition starts. This global transition is already practically ready from all sides. But the moment will come when we reach those final peak points right before a major, powerful surge. When this surge happens, of course, we will be watching and will do our best to keep you informed. So, once again, I urge you to subscribe to our channel. That's some advertisement, right? So, subscribe to stay informed, because we are, of course, monitoring this every day. It would be foolish to miss this moment because many of the assets people own could lose their value completely. The stock markets are facing a major crash, as are the capital and forex markets, because large capital will be flowing specifically into crypto assets. Understand that the digital economy has already arrived, and right now cryptocurrencies are the place that will allow you not only to preserve your capital. Yes, it may still be volatile for now. There's no way around that. It can't be avoided. But when the money, the large volumes, 99% or even more, yes, 99.5% or so, that are currently positioned in one direction, start flowing into this tiny little market. What will happen then? Of course, everything will be pumped up very dynamically. I hope my thoughts have given you some food for thought and that you will definitely make the right decision. Of course, with a clear mind, a cool head, and proper risk management. Thank you very much for your attention. Leave your comments and ask your questions. We will be happy to answer them. See you next time and goodbye.